Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at the RZE Resolute and the Traska Summiteer. Been looking forward to this comparison video for a while now, so finally excited to get into it here. Well, not really similar looking, but kind of in the same vein. I would consider these both to be field watches or exploring watches, however you want to look at it. This one a little bit more so just because of the 369 dial layout, but the RZE you could consider a modern interpretation of the Explorer watch. Price point for these two watches somewhat similar. The RZE is $469 on the bracelet, and it's $399 on a canvas leather-backed strap. And the Summiteer is $550. So maybe not exactly the same price point, about a 20% premium for this one here. So one similarity between these two is they both have a scratch resistant coating, taking the hardness up to 1,200 on the Vickers scale. The stainless steel is typically 316L stainless steel is typically 200 on the Vickers scale. For example, the Seiko SKX, this one I've not really babied it or anything, but I haven't necessarily abused it. But you can see it's got a lot of scuff marks on it from me wearing it quite a bit for the past 10 years. So with a watch like this or this, you won't necessarily see that much scratching. Now this one is grade 2 titanium with a different kind of coating. It's the Ultra Hex titanium coating, and also good for 1,200 on the Vickers scale. I'm not certain what grade 2 titanium normally is. I've seen different numbers, somewhere between 200 and 300, but I've always considered titanium to be less scratch resistant than 316L stainless steel. The clasp on this is stainless steel, but it has a coating to make it look like titanium. Other than that, the case, bracelet, case back, bezel is all titanium. So let's focus on the RZE here. This one has the Arctic Gray dial. There's a few different colorways. I'll put a link in the description to their website. Has a signed crown. This watch is all brushed. There's no polishing on it. I think it's a good looking watch. I do like this dial color with this watch here. Everything kind of just goes together, and it is a bit of a fume dial. It goes from lighter to darker around the perimeter. It does have a date, and it does have applied indices. So yeah, I've enjoyed my time with this watch. Case back is just a solid case back with some engraving on it here. I like the angular look of this watch. Kind of reminds me of the Bulgari, what's it called? The Octissimo, whatever it's called, Finissimo, something like that. I think you know which watch I'm talking about. So solid end links, female end link here. This one does have drilled lugs. It does not have any kind of a quick release spring bar here for the clasp, but that's fine for the bracelet, sorry. No quick adjustment either, just the 4 micros on the side with that safety clasp again. It is signed. I prefer the clasp on the Traska, but this works fine. I have not had any issues with it. Okay, let's talk about the dimensions. I'll zoom back out here a little bit. Okay, so we're looking at 46 millimeter lug to lug. That's a true lug to lug because of the female end links. Case diameter 39.5 from here to here. It is 11.6 millimeter thick. It's a little bit on the thick side for a watch like this, and that's due to the Seiko NH35 movement and it is rated to 100 meters of water resistance. Lug width 20, and it tapers down to 16. Very nice taper, very comfortable on wrist. No complaints with how this watch feels on wrist. And this is, of course, an H-link bracelet, fully articulating. Everything is free to move on this bracelet. And the crown on it is a little bit large for this type of watch at 7.5 millimeter. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the weight on this watch is 91 grams, so nice and lightweight. The Traska Summiteer is 119 grams. It doesn't feel heavy, but when you have this watch in hand with this one, it does feel heavy, but on its own, it's not a bad weight, 119 grams. 6.3 millimeter crown, so the crown is a little smaller than what we have on the RZE. I think this is a little more proportional, but the RZE is not bad either. This is a signed crown. There, you can see it there. Lug width again is 20 on this, and it does also taper down to 16. This watch wears very well on wrist, and for this version, all the links are articulating. The previous generation, these 3 links were basically pinned together, but now it's all fully articulating. Very comfortable on wrist. I do enjoy wearing this watch. Thickness is 11.4. Previous generation was thinner because it had a flat sapphire crystal, and this one has that box dome sapphire crystal. I really like the way that it looks, but it does kind of affect visibility a little bit. But it does look better than flat sapphire in my opinion. But I still do prefer the flat sapphire. Drilled lugs as well on this watch. And I think I already said it, but 11.4 millimeter for the thickness. Case diameter 39 millimeter, perfect size for my wrist. I enjoy almost everything about this watch. And then lug to lug is 46.4 millimeter, and that's the true lug to lug because it also has these female center links on the end links here. So let's focus in on this watch here. You can check out the dial. It does have painted on indices. In the center of the dial is dished out a little bit. Hopefully you can see that on the screen here with this lighting setup I have going on. Yeah, you can see the dish right there in the center. Adds a little bit more visual interest. I really like the sword hands. I think I would prefer for the hands to have the white outline, but the stainless is not a bad look either. All comes down to your personal preference on how you like your watch to look. It has a nice classic look to it. It has a rounded case. It has a nice shape to it. Again, I'm a big fan of this watch. Alright, so let's talk about, actually, you know what, I didn't go over the clasp. So in the case, it's a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces here. And you can see the sheen of this case is a little bit different, or the color is a little bit different than your typical stainless steel watch. Let's grab this one, for example. Seiko field watch. You can see the coloration is just a little bit different due to that scratch resistant coating. And I like the clasp on this one more than what's on the RZE. No safety clasps, just these dual pushers. And that center portion of the clasp is really beautifully finished here with the perlage work. So, very nice. I really like this watch. Probably said that about 5 times already, but it's true. Okay, let's take a look at the sweep of the second hand on the Traska Summiteer compared to the RZE. I don't know if you can see that or not. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the Traska has a smoother sweep, the 8 beats per second versus 6 beats per second of the RZE. This has the Miyota 9039 movement, so hand winding, hacking, the same as this one. power reserve is very similar. I think 42 versus 40, somewhere around there. And the Miota movement is a little bit thinner as well. All right, let me get both of these on wrist, and then we'll take a look at the loom between the two of these. Can't remember which one. I think the RZE will be a little brighter. The Traska has, actually they both have BGW9 loom, so I guess we'll see which one comes out ahead. Let me get the RZE on wrist first. One more thing I wanted to mention is that the Traska is also rated to 100 meter of water resistance, and they both do have screw down crowns. And lastly, the case back on this, you may have already seen it, is not decorated either, just some text around the perimeter. The previous version was a display case back. This one's a little kind of tricky to open sometimes. It just has the hook feature here, which retains it, and then is secured by that safety clasp. Alright, so lug to lug on this, I believe is 46. I have a 6.5 inch wrist with a 52 millimeter wristband. It's a cool watch. Definitely a modern interpretation of an exploring watch or field watch, whatever you want to call this. Sport watch, take your pick. It does have nice little detail on the side here. It's just not just straight up and down. It has this little protrusion, which kind of matches with the crown guards here. So it almost reminds me of the Nautilus in a way. As funny as that sounds. Okay, let's zoom out for a little bit different perspective here. Get my SKX in the background. The bracelet does seem to be a little bit different color from the case. Not exactly sure why that would be. Alright, let's get the Traska on wrist. This watch has been a real joy to wear. I mean, it's really light and very comfortable. I can see you just putting this on wrist and just forgetting it was there. Oh yeah, I really like this watch. See a hint of the AR coating there, the bluish tint. I think this one looks a little larger on wrist. Maybe not. It's hard to say. Again, lug to lug on this, I think it's 46.4, slightly larger than the RZE. So let me know which of these two watches you would pick down in the comment section. And while you go down there, if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. It helps me out a lot. I greatly appreciate it as well. Yeah, it's tough. I think, you know, they're basically the same size watch, but I don't know. I don't know which one looks larger. I gotta see if I can contact Traska and see if they could swap out this crystal for me and put a flat one on. All right, I think that will take care of the wrist shots here, and then I'll go ahead and pause the video and we'll check out the loom on both of these. We'll be right back. All right, so of course the RZE is on the left and the Traska is on the right. Clearly RZE has a better loom than the Traska, at least at the first blush here right after hitting it with the UV. Looks like it is dying down. The RZE is dying down a bit compared to the Traska, but would still say the RZE is brighter, and according to their websites, they both have BGW9 lume. So that will conclude today's video. As always, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.